Now, what does this mean? Can you break this down for us? They don't have the power to levy tolls. Does that mean taxes, basically?
This is a huge development, but for those who have been following it, not surprising. I'm not surprised by this. Patrick McSweeney is an excellent attorney. He successfully argued the same points in a Northern Virginia case, where it was determined that unelected bodies are not allowed to implement taxes. It is obvious from the judge's ruling today that the toll is a tax. Now, we covered this extensively. No one covered it more than 10 on your side did. Louise Lucas, state senator from Portsmouth, she successfully went to Richmond, and she said, we want $100 million, along with 10 on your side reporting, to pay down the tolls until January 2014. Now it looks, and I'm sure that the state will appeal this, it would look as though the state will have to continue paying down the tolls so that no one pays the tolls until this issue is resolved. Now, you see the big gantries up there that will toll people when they're coming through. They're just sitting up there now. They will not be able to do that. Patrick McSweeney, obviously very successful today, that the toll is indeed a tax. Now, here's the other big deal. There is going to be a new Midtown Tunnel tube. Okay, so the argument could go, and the middle ground is this, that it's kind of like the people in Portsmouth are hostage because there's no way to get across the Elizabeth River, either by the Midtown Tunnel or by the Downtown Tunnel. If you only toll the Midtown Tunnel, because that's where the new tube is going, there could be an argument that that should be tolled because that's going to be where the new work is done. The Downtown tube, that's just going to be refurbished. There's not going to be any new lanes there. So that is what the other argument will be, and somewhere in the middle might be the solution, that you're going to toll the Midtown Tunnel because that's where the new tube's going, but not the Downtown Tunnel. And why do they want to? It's kind of like, why do you rob the bank? Because that's where the money is. Why do you toll the Downtown Tunnel? Because there's over 100,000 cars going through the Downtown Tunnel every single day. Over at the Midtown Tunnel, 35, 40. The money is at the Downtown Tunnel. The judge said he doesn't like the fact that you're bundling them. Lauren mentioned that. Bundling. Doesn't like that, and that's the reason why he voted with the people.
And the question, of course, is how does the governor then pay for his transportation plan? The tolls on the Midtown, Downtown tunnels, that was a big part of it. We're going to try to answer that question as well, but for right now, we have a guest on the phone.
That's right. Let's go to Mayor Kenny Wright of Portsmouth. Thank you for joining us, Mayor. What do you think about this judge's ruling?
Well, Nicole, we are very excited and elated about this decision. We clearly think it was the right decision. Most of Hampton Roads has thought this all along, and all of my visits up to Richmond, there isn't a legislator that I've talked to privately that thought this was a good deal. And so we stuck with it, we stayed the course, and clearly the people won. So the opposition has already announced that they're going to oppose it and appeal it, and so we just need to mount up, and hopefully the rest of our jurisdictions will join in this fight, because this is definitely a fight worth having.
And now the question is, how do you pay for the renovations and how do you pay for transportation?
Well, that's been our issue all along. There's a way to do this, and the way the state decided to go was not the right way. And in order to make this project viable, they had to include other pieces that had absolutely nothing to do with the Midtown Tunnel. So I'm excited that Judge Kell saw right through that. He actually made that part of his closing comments as the reason why he made that decision. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other. We do have a system of projects here in Virginia, but we have to be able to finance them and pay for them individually, and that's going to require a great deal of thought and conversation amongst all of the leaders here in Hampton Roads, as well as our counterparts up in Richmond. And it's not going to be a quick fix or some type of contractual arrangement with a private entity to stick it to the people.
Mayor, so how bad was it?
The people here clearly won today.
How bad was it, Mayor? Did you hear from businesses and residents who were talking about leaving Portsmouth so they wouldn't have to use the tunnel?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not only businesses, we're talking about everyday working people here that need those assets and need to go in and out of those things on a daily basis, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. And that would alter all of our behavioral patterns, all of our work patterns, the decisions you make on where you live, decisions you make on where you work. This thing would have been huge.
All right, Mayor Kenny Wright. I think, Andy, do you have a question for the mayor?
Yeah, Mayor Wright, you and I have talked about this on many occasions, and I know that you're ecstatic about this decision. But in the beginning, you and I had conversations about how they just kind of all of a sudden ramrodded it down the throats of the people. And you said that's what turned people off. And I remember when I went up to Richmond and I interviewed Governor Bob McDonnell, I said, is this a done deal? Remember what he said? He said, it's a done deal. And I said, oh, really? Well, it's never a done deal until the General Assembly's out. And when Louise Lucas got the $100 million, that certainly started getting the nose of the camel under the tent. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And what did I tell you when the governor told you that? I say it ain't over yet.
Yeah, you said it's not over. I can see the mayor now just laughing.
Won
the
here today.
Yeah, but
this is a huge victory for the citizens of Hampton Roads and the Commonwealth.
Now, one of the things, though, Mayor, is this. You and I have also talked about this. It's kind of like you're being held hostage in Portsmouth. Portsmouth, one of the poorest communities in Hampton Roads. You and I have talked about that it is unfair to toll both of them where there is no option to get around. Do you think that the middle ground becomes that they toll the Midtown Tunnel where the work's going to be done and there is no toll at the Downtown Tunnel? Do you think that's the option that is the middle ground?
I don't know if that's middle ground. I think there's a way to do this. Maybe tolling may be a small component of it, Andy, but I think when we pull it back to the table and you get the experts to sit down and take another look at this, I think we'll be able to come up with even a better option than that. I mean, clearly, if you're going to go private-public partnership, the private entity needs to make a profit. And if the profit margin isn't there, they're not going to be interested. But an asset of this magnitude, I believe we ought to be able to fund this, and we can do this as a Commonwealth. We can use the private sector clearly to build the thing, and even if we have to toll it and put the money back into Hampton Roads to pay for the project and then remove the toll. This 58-year deal with all of these escalations and all of these profit margins, I mean, it was just insane.
Now, that was my next question, Mayor. Public-private partnership. What does this do to Governor McDonnell and Secretary of Transportation Sean Connaughton's public-private partnership formula?
Well, I think they need to revisit some of the terms, and I believe they still need to have a PPTA. But there has to be decisions made on the local level. You have to include their local elected officials. And then ultimately you need to bring it back to the General Assembly because only elected officials can make that determination. VDOT does not have the power to do that, nor does the Secretary of Transportation. It is about our elected officials, and that was the crux of the matter here.
Final question. Well, your prediction, will we ever have tolls on the Downtown and Midtown Tunnel?
I don't want to make that prediction, and I think we need to do what's in the best interest for this Commonwealth and for Hampton Roads. And I think when the great minds get down, sit together, and be able to come up with a strategy that will be pleasant for all of us. There's nothing free. We have to pay for our projects, but we need to do it in an equitable way and make sure that we make sure we're not putting the burden on one group of people or one city or one locality. We've got to do this from a regional and a statewide perspective.
All right, Mayor Kenneth Wright from Portsmouth, thank you. I know we will hear again from you soon.